Good evening, dear listeners. Welcome to this tranquil journey through time, where we will explore the often overlooked, yet fascinating aspects of life in ancient Rome. Tonight, as you settle into your comfortable space, I invite you to let the cares of the day drift away, allowing the gentle waves of history to lull you into a state of relaxation and serenity. In this soothing exploration, we will delve into the seemingly dull yet surprisingly intriguing world of the Roman Forum's waste disposal protocols and refuse collection timetables. It may not sound like the stuff of grand epics or heroic tales, but the management of refuse in the heart of Rome is a testament to the ingenuity and practicality of a civilization that thrived for centuries. As we navigate the details of this unremarkable topic, you may find comfort in the rhythmic cadence of the words, each one a step deeper into a peaceful slumber. Imagine, if you will, the bustling streets of ancient Rome, where citizens and visitors alike gathered in the Forum, sharing news, goods, and ideas. Now picture the underlying system that kept this vibrant hub clean and orderly, a system that required careful planning and implementation. Through our exploration, we will uncover the meticulous protocols that governed waste disposal and the schedules that ensured the Forum remained a welcoming space for all. We will begin by painting a vivid picture of the Forum itself, an iconic space filled with temples, marketplaces, and public gatherings. In this serene setting, we will discuss the everyday lives of the Romans and how they approached the inevitable byproduct of their bustling society, waste. With gentle storytelling, we will learn about the early refuse collection methods employed by the Romans, from simple practices to more sophisticated systems that reflected their advanced understanding of public health and urban living. As we continue, we will delve into the roles and responsibilities of the workers who managed waste disposal, their routines, and the tools they used. Through this exploration, you might find a sense of calm in the knowledge that even in the most mundane tasks, there existed a rhythm and a purpose that contributed to the greater good. The lives of these workers, though often uncelebrated, were essential to the functioning of Roman society, and their stories will weave a gentle tapestry of history that wraps around us like a warm blanket. We will also investigate the challenges faced by the Romans in waste management, including the public health concerns that arose from improper disposal practices. As we navigate through these topics, remember that even the dullest aspects of history are filled with lessons and insights that can soothe our minds. The Romans learned to adapt and innovate, ensuring their beloved Forum remained a clean and safe gathering place. Finally, we will touch upon the legacy of these ancient waste disposal practices and how they resonate through the ages, influencing modern sanitation systems and our understanding of urban living. This connection to the past will gently guide you into a restful state, as we reflect on how far we have come while appreciating the simplicity of those who came before us. So, dear listeners, as we embark on this calming voyage through the annals of history, take a deep breath, relax your shoulders, and let the sound of my voice wash over you. Allow the tranquil exploration of Roman waste disposal to carry you into a peaceful realm, where dreams intertwine with the whispers of ancient streets. Now, let us transition to the main content of our soothing journey, where the echoes of the Roman Forum await to tell their gentle tale. Close your eyes, and let us begin. The history of waste disposal protocols and refuse collection timetables in the Roman Forum is a subject of considerable tedium, characterized by a meticulous evolution of practices that have garnered minimal attention from historians, yet remain pivotal in understanding the administrative complexities of ancient Rome. The Roman Forum, situated at the heart of the city of Rome, served not only as a center for political and social activity but also as a critical locus for the management of urban waste. The earliest records concerning waste disposal in the Roman Forum can be traced back to the founding of the city itself, traditionally dated to 753 BCE. Historical accounts, albeit sparse, suggest that the initial Romans, primarily agrarian in nature, possessed rudimentary waste management systems that revolved around the organic waste generated from agricultural practices. As urbanization progressed, particularly during the late monarchy and the early republic, circa 509 BCE, the accumulation of refuse necessitated more structured protocols. By the time of the establishment of the Republic, a rudimentary system began to emerge under the auspices of the Senate. The Senate, composed of patricians, began to recognize the importance of maintaining cleanliness in public spaces, particularly in the Forum, where citizens gathered for various civic functions. It was during the tenure of the consul Gaius Marcius Coriolanus, circa 493 BCE, that the first formalized waste collection measures were reportedly instituted, albeit in a rudimentary and inefficient manner. The architectural layout of the Forum contributed significantly to waste accumulation. The Forum was bordered by important buildings such as the Curia, the Rostra, and the Basilica Julia, with open spaces that served as gathering spots for citizens. The absence of systematic drainage systems compounded waste management issues, leading to the accumulation of organic refuse, animal waste, and detritus from public gatherings. The Forum's design, primarily focused on civic and religious functions, lacked adequate provisions for refuse management. By 312 BCE, the expansion of Rome and its burgeoning population necessitated further advancements in waste disposal methods. Under the aegis of the censor Appius Claudius Caecus, a comprehensive survey of urban sanitation was conducted. Records indicate that this census included the evaluation of waste disposal practices, leading to the establishment of designated areas for refuse collection. These areas, referred to as loca sordida, were established on the periphery of the Forum to mitigate the unsightly accumulation of refuse within the central civic space. In 200 BCE, the Lex Aelia de Vieria was enacted, mandating the removal of waste from the Forum at regular intervals. This legislative act signified a shift towards formalized waste management practices, with specific timetables for refuse collection being established. The responsibility for waste management was assigned to the aediles, officials tasked with maintaining public order and infrastructure. The aediles were required to supervise the removal of waste, employing a workforce known as lictors, who would execute the collection as part of their duties. This marked a significant administrative effort in addressing the issues of urban waste. The refuse collection timetable instituted under the aediles was remarkably predictable, featuring collections on a bi-weekly basis. The exact days of collection varied, often coinciding with market days to ensure minimal disruption to civic life. The aediles would schedule collections for the days of the Nundini, the Roman market week, which occurred every 8 days, thereby ensuring that waste was cleared promptly after large gatherings. Procedural documentation from the late Republic, circa 100 BCE, provides insights into the meticulous administration of waste management. The aediles maintain detailed records of waste collection, including the types of refuse removed and the quantities involved. Such records were essential not only for logistical planning but also for fiscal accountability, as the cost of waste disposal was often a point of contention in the Senate. The records included notes regarding the collection of organic waste, which was often repurposed as fertilizer for the surrounding agricultural regions, thereby reflecting an early understanding of recycling practices. During the imperial period, particularly under the reign of Augustus, 27 BCE, 14 CE, waste management protocols underwent significant refinement. Augustus implemented a series of public health reforms that included the appointment of a new class of officials known as the cura annona, who were tasked with overseeing the supply of grain and the management of urban sanitation. The introduction of these officials underscored the Roman commitment to public health, extending the administrative framework for waste disposal. Architecturally, improvements to the forum's infrastructure during the reign of Augustus also facilitated more efficient waste disposal. The construction of cloacae, or drainage systems, was expanded, with the Cloaca Maxima being particularly noteworthy. Completed in the 6th century BCE and continually improved upon, this drainage system allowed for the more effective removal of liquid waste and refuse from the forum. Its engineering marvels not only aided in waste management but also underscored the Roman commitment to public works. The daily routines of refuse collection varied little over the centuries, remaining largely unchanged until the decline of the Roman Empire. Waste was typically collected at dawn, a practice that minimized the disruption to daily activities. The lictors would gather refuse from designated collection points, utilizing wooden carts with wheels, rudimentary by modern standards, to transport waste to the outskirts of the city. The carts, described in various Roman texts, were designed with open tops to facilitate loading, and their construction often utilized readily available materials, such as wood and iron, reflecting the practicalities of Roman engineering. As the empire expanded, the administrative complexities surrounding waste management increased. The aforementioned aediles continued to oversee refuse collection, but their responsibilities began to encompass a broader range of urban maintenance tasks, including the upkeep of roads and public buildings. The growing bureaucracy led to the development of more intricate timetables, which were often detailed in the Acta Diurna, the daily gazette of Rome that chronicled various civic activities, including waste management. By the time of the late Empire, particularly during the reign of Diocletian, 284 to 305 CE, waste disposal protocols had become increasingly formalized. Diocletian's reforms, which sought to stabilize the empire, included comprehensive measures for urban sanitation. The establishment of the curators, to oversee public health matters, including waste management, reflected a growing recognition of the importance of hygiene in urban settings. These officials were responsible for ensuring that refuse collection adhered to the established timetables, which had become more rigid in response to the burgeoning urban population. In the 4th century CE, the collection timetable was altered to accommodate the changing rhythms of Roman life. With the increasing prevalence of Christian practices and the subsequent decline of traditional Roman festivals, waste management began to reflect these societal shifts. Collections were rescheduled to align with religious observances, marking a significant cultural evolution in the everyday lives of citizens. The impact of Christianity on refuse collection practices, while subtle, should not be minimized, as it represented a broader transformation in the social fabric of Rome. As the Western Roman Empire entered its decline in the late 5th century CE, the once structured waste disposal protocols began to falter. The administrative apparatus that had overseen refuse collection started to disintegrate, leading to a gradual decline in the efficiency of waste management in the forum. The vitality of urban life that had characterized earlier periods gave way to neglect, and the once pristine spaces of the forum became increasingly burdened by refuse. In summary, the history of waste disposal protocols and refuse collection timetables in the Roman Forum illustrates a remarkably consistent adherence to administrative procedures that evolved in response to the changing needs of urban society. From its origins in the early Republic through to the decline of the Empire, waste management practices reflected broader societal values and the complexities of governance. The architectural developments, administrative structures, and daily routines associated with refuse collection reveal a commitment to maintaining public order and hygiene that, despite its inherent dullness, underscores the significance of waste management in the urban landscape of ancient Rome. As such, the study of waste disposal in the Roman Forum, while seemingly mundane, provides essential insights into the administrative and social fabric of one of history's most influential civilizations. The construction methods and materials employed in the waste disposal systems of the Roman Forum were largely dictated by the technological capabilities and societal norms of the time. The primary materials utilized for the construction of waste disposal infrastructure included stone, clay, and mortar, chosen for their durability and availability. The sewer systems, known as cloacae, were often built using large blocks of tuff, a volcanic stone abundant in the region. These blocks measured approximately 0.5 meters by 1 meter and were quarried from local sources to minimize transportation costs. The construction of the Cloaca Maxima, one of the earliest and most significant sewer systems, is believed to have commenced around 600 BCE under the auspices of the last king of Rome, Tarquin the Proud, and was further expanded and maintained throughout the Republic and Empire. To ensure effective waste management, the Romans employed a variety of construction techniques. The cloacae were engineered with a slight gradient, generally around 1 to 2%, to facilitate the flow of wastewater and refuse. This careful engineering was essential in preventing blockages and ensuring that the waste could be efficiently transported to designated disposal areas, which included the Tiber River. Furthermore, the walls of the cloacae were often coated with a mixture of lime and sand to enhance their impermeability and longevity, reducing the risk of leaks and structural failure. Maintenance procedures for the waste disposal systems were systematic and methodical. Regular inspections were mandated to assess the integrity of the sewer systems. It is documented that every 5 years, a thorough examination of the cloacae was conducted, during which any necessary repairs were executed. This involved clearing out accumulated sludge and debris, which could measure up to several meters in depth in certain areas. The use of specialized tools, such as wooden rakes and metal scoops, was common practice among maintenance crews. Additionally, it is noted that a mixture of vinegar and water was occasionally used to help break down organic material and mitigate unpleasant odors. Financial records pertaining to the waste disposal protocols reveal a structured budgeting system. In the 1st century BCE, the estimated annual expenditure for the maintenance of the cloacae and refuse collection was approximately 1,000 sesterces, a significant sum considering the economic context of the time. These records indicate that funds were allocated not only for labor costs but also for materials required for repairs and maintenance. The wages for laborers involved in waste management were typically set at 3 sesterces per day, aligning with the standard pay for unskilled laborers in Rome. Further examination of the financial documents illustrates a cost-benefit analysis that guided the allocation of resources. For instance, in 27 BCE, a decision was made to invest in the construction of additional refuse collection points, costing around 500 sesterces. This investment was justified by the anticipated improvement in public health and sanitation, as well as the potential decrease in pest infestations, which were a significant concern for urban populations. Such meticulous financial planning underscores the administrative acumen of Roman officials in addressing waste disposal matters. Personnel involved in waste disposal operations included a range of job descriptions, each with distinct responsibilities. The chief officer overseeing waste management was known as the curator cloacarum, a role established by 300 BCE. This official was tasked with the overall supervision of the sewer systems and waste collection, reporting directly to the Senate. The curator was supported by several lower-ranking officials, including the coactor, responsible for collecting refuse from designated points, and the operarius, who engaged in the physical labor of maintaining the sewer systems. The workforce also included specialized laborers known as piscators, who were responsible for monitoring and clearing blockages in the river systems, ensuring that refuse did not contaminate the waterways. The precise number of personnel employed in waste management varied, but it is estimated that approximately 100 workers were regularly engaged in these activities during peak periods, such as the summer months when waste accumulation was at its highest. Technical specifications of the Roman waste disposal systems are notable for their ingenuity. The dimensions of the cloacae varied, with the main sewer, the cloaca maxima, reaching a width of approximately 5 meters in certain sections and a height of 4 meters. The design included semicircular arches, which distributed weight effectively and allowed for a significant volume of waste to be transported simultaneously. The internal surfaces of the sewers were often smoothed, measuring around 0.3 meters in thickness, to facilitate the flow of liquid waste. Moreover, the Romans employed a system of public latrines, strategically located throughout the forum, which were integral to waste disposal. These latrines, often constructed of stone and featuring a continuous flow of running water, were designed with seating that accommodated multiple users simultaneously. Each seat measured around 0.5 meters in width, and it is estimated that a typical latrine could serve up to 20 individuals at any given time. Water supply for these latrines was sourced from aqueducts, which were engineered to deliver fresh water at a consistent pressure. The gradient of the aqueducts was carefully calculated, typically set at 0.1%, to ensure an uninterrupted flow of water. This infrastructure was crucial, as the availability of running water significantly reduced the odor and health risks associated with human waste. In summary, the history of waste disposal protocols and refuse collection timetables in the Roman Forum, while ostensibly dull, reveals a complex interplay of engineering, economics, and social organization. The construction methods, maintenance practices, financial records, personnel roles, and technical specifications all contribute to an understanding of how the Romans managed one of the most pressing issues of urban life. The meticulous attention to detail and the systematic approach adopted by Roman officials underscore the importance of waste management in maintaining public health and the overall functionality of one of antiquity's most significant urban centers. This narrative, though lacking in dramatic flair, serves as a testament to the enduring significance of waste disposal practices in shaping the historical trajectory of the Roman Empire. The construction methods and materials employed in the waste disposal systems of the Roman Forum were largely dictated by the technological capabilities and societal norms of the time. The primary materials utilized for the construction of waste disposal infrastructure included stone, clay, and mortar, chosen for their durability and availability. The sewer systems, known as cloacae, were often built using large blocks of tuff, a volcanic stone abundant in the region. These blocks measured approximately 1 meter by 0.5 meters and were often fitted together without mortar, showcasing the Romans' advanced masonry techniques. The most notable example of this engineering prowess is the Cloaca Maxima, one of the world's earliest sewage systems, widely regarded as a marvel of ancient engineering. Originally constructed around 600 BCE, during the reign of King Tarquin the Proud, the Cloaca Maxima was designed to drain local marshes and remove waste from the burgeoning city streets. Over the centuries, this system underwent numerous renovations and expansions, particularly during the late Republic and early Empire, with significant enhancements made around 200 BCE under the supervision of the famed architect and engineer, Appius Claudius Caecus. By this time, the infrastructure had evolved to include extensive networks of underground channels, some reaching depths of up to 5 meters. The construction of the cloacae involved meticulous planning and execution. The Romans employed a combination of manual labor and simple machines, such as levers and pulleys, to transport and position these heavy stone blocks. Workers often excavated trenches that followed the natural contours of the land to facilitate drainage. The Romans were adept at using gravity to their advantage. The sewers were designed to have a slight gradient, ensuring that waste would flow smoothly towards the Tiber River, where it could be safely disposed of, rather than contaminating the urban environment. In terms of materials, the Romans favored tuff for its resilience and thermal properties. Additionally, they utilized pozzolana, a volcanic ash that when mixed with lime and water, created a hydraulic mortar capable of setting underwater. This material was critical for constructing the sewer systems, as it allowed for the creation of watertight structures that could withstand the pressures of the waste and water flowing within them. For instance, sections of the Cloaca Maxima were lined with this mortar, ensuring that they would not erode over time, thus maintaining the functionality of the system for centuries. The Romans also innovated in the realm of sanitation, utilizing public latrines as a means to promote hygiene among the population. These communal toilets, often elaborately decorated and constructed with marble seats, were typically situated over the very sewers they emptied into. The public latrines were equipped with a continuous flow of water to carry waste away, and they often included a system of sponges on sticks, known as cursorium, for personal hygiene. This design highlighted the Romans' understanding of public health, even though the concept of germ theory would not emerge until centuries later. The efficacy of these waste disposal systems can be illustrated by examining the case of Ostia Antica, the ancient port city of Rome. Situated approximately 30 kilometers from the capital, Ostia boasted its own advanced sewage system, with a series of cloacae that effectively managed waste disposal for a city that served as a bustling hub of trade and commerce. Archaeological studies have revealed that the sewers of Ostia were not only effective in waste removal but also played a crucial role in managing stormwater, reducing flooding during heavy rains. In terms of measurements, the sewer systems of the Roman Forum were extensive, with some estimates suggesting that the combined length of all cloacae in the city exceeded 400 kilometers. The largest of these conduits, the Cloaca Maxima, measured around 3.5 meters in width at its widest point. The efficiency of these systems was remarkable. During heavy rainfall, the sewers could accommodate vast quantities of water, reducing the risk of flooded streets and promoting a healthier urban environment. From a historical context, the development of waste disposal systems in Rome can be traced back to the Etruscans, who laid the groundwork for urban sanitation through their own primitive drainage systems. The Romans built upon these early innovations, refining techniques and expanding the scale of construction. By the time of Emperor Augustus in 27 BCE, Rome had transformed into a sprawling metropolis with a population estimated at over 1 million inhabitants. The effective waste management systems were essential in maintaining public health and order in such a densely populated area. In conclusion, the waste disposal systems of the Roman Forum exemplified the confluence of advanced engineering, innovative materials, and the Romans' commitment to public health. The legacy of these cloacae persists today, as many of the techniques and materials developed by the Romans continue to inform modern sanitation practices. The intricate network of sewers not only served to protect the health of the citizens but also reflected the broader social and cultural values of ancient Rome, where infrastructure played a vital role in the functioning of society. The construction methods and materials employed in the waste disposal infrastructure of the Roman Forum were characterized by a significant degree of standardization and practicality. The primary structures utilized for waste management included the cloacae, or sewers, which were essential for the removal of refuse and wastewater. The most notable of these was the Cloaca Maxima, believed to have been constructed as early as the 6th century BCE. This monumental sewer was primarily composed of large limestone blocks, which were quarried from nearby regions, particularly the Alban Hills. The blocks were typically rectangular and measured approximately 1.5 meters in length, 0.75 meters in width, and 0.5 meters in height. The construction of the Cloaca Maxima involved the use of a technique known as opus cementitium, or Roman concrete, which included a mixture of lime, volcanic ash, and small stones, allowing for a durable and water-resistant structure. In addition to the primary sewer system, smaller conduits and drainage channels were constructed to facilitate the flow of waste from public latrines and private residences directly into the main sewer. These channels were often lined with brick or stone and measured approximately 0.5 meters in width and 0.75 meters in depth. The gradient of these channels was meticulously calculated to ensure the efficient movement of waste, with a recommended decline of 150 over the distance of the conduit. Maintenance procedures for the waste disposal systems were established early in Roman history, reflecting the importance placed on hygiene and public health. Regular inspections of the Cloaca Maxima and its tributaries were mandated by local magistrates, often referred to as aediles, who were responsible for the upkeep of public infrastructure. These inspections typically occurred quarterly, with detailed records maintained on the condition of the sewers and any necessary repairs. The repairs themselves were conducted using a combination of masonry techniques, including the replacement of damaged stones and the application of hydraulic cement to seal leaks. It is recorded that in 33 BCE, the construction of a new section of the Cloaca Maxima was undertaken to accommodate the growing population of Rome, resulting in an expansion of approximately 200 meters. Financial records related to waste disposal and refuse collection in the Roman Forum reflected the significant investment made by the state in public health initiatives. A detailed account from the late Republic period indicates that expenditures related to the maintenance of the sewer system could reach up to 10% of the total municipal budget. This included costs associated with materials, labor, and the payment of fines for negligence in waste management. For instance, in 45 BCE, the Senate allocated 500 denarii for the repair of a specific section of the Cloaca Maxima that had suffered structural damage due to heavy rains. Financial documents from the period reveal that labor costs were typically calculated at a rate of 1 denarius per day for unskilled workers, while skilled masons could command up to 3 denarii per day. Personnel involved in waste management and refuse collection within the Roman Forum consisted of a variety of roles, each with specific job descriptions. The aediles, as previously mentioned, were responsible for overseeing the entire waste management system. Under their jurisdiction were the censors, who focused on the moral and sanitary conditions of the city, ensuring that citizens adhered to proper waste disposal practices. The aediles plebes served a similar function but were specifically tasked with the management of public buildings and spaces. Laborers known as lators were employed to transport refuse from designated collection sites to the disposal areas, which were often located outside the city limits. The lators were typically organized into teams, each responsible for a particular section of the forum, and their duties included the collection of organic waste, ashes from hearths, and discarded materials from public events. Reports suggest that each team of lators could collect approximately 200 kilograms of refuse daily, with collection routes carefully planned to maximize efficiency. The lators received a daily wage, which varied depending on the size of the team and the volume of waste collected. In addition to the lators, specialized workers known as cagenarii were responsible for the maintenance and cleaning of the public latrines. These workers used tools such as sponges on sticks, known as thursoria, to clean the latrines after use. The caginarii were required to follow strict hygiene protocols, including the use of vinegar to disinfect surfaces, in order to mitigate the risk of disease. It is documented that in 27 BCE, a significant outbreak of disease in the forum prompted the aediles to increase the number of caginarii from 10 to 20 in order to enhance sanitation efforts. The technical specifications of the waste disposal systems in the Roman Forum were meticulously defined to ensure effective operation. The dimensions of the cloaca maxima, for example, were approximately 3.6 meters wide and 4.2 meters high at its peak, tapering down to smaller dimensions in its tributaries. The overall length of the cloaca maxima is estimated to be around 10 kilometers, making it one of the longest sewer systems in antiquity. The design included multiple access points, known as foramina, which allowed for the inspection and cleaning of the sewer as needed. These access points were typically spaced at intervals of 200 meters and featured circular openings with a diameter of approximately 1 meter. The gradients of the sewer channels were calculated using a tool known as a chorobates, which allowed engineers to measure the angle of decline accurately. The recommended gradient of 150 ensured that waste could flow freely without stagnation, thus preventing the buildup of noxious odors and potential health hazards. Additionally, the use of settling basins, located strategically along the sewer, provided a means for larger debris to settle before entering the main sewer line, thereby reducing the risk of blockages. Overall, the waste disposal protocols and refuse collection timetables of the Roman Forum exemplified the Romans' commitment to urban infrastructure and public health. The meticulous planning and execution of these systems not only addressed the immediate needs of waste management but also reflected the broader values of Roman society, which prioritized cleanliness and order. The construction methods, maintenance procedures, financial records, personnel roles, and technical specifications collectively contributed to a waste management system that was, for its time, remarkably advanced and effective. The historical significance of these protocols is further underscored by their lasting impact on subsequent urban planning and waste management practices throughout history. The principles established in ancient Rome continue to inform modern sanitation efforts, illustrating that even the most mundane aspects of daily life can shape the trajectory of civilization. As Rome continued to grow and evolve, the waste disposal systems adapted accordingly, demonstrating a constant engagement with the challenges of urbanization and public health. In conclusion, the dull history of Roman Forum waste disposal protocols and refuse collection timetables serves as a testament to the practical concerns of an ancient civilization. The attention to detail in construction methods, maintenance, financial management, personnel organization, and technical specifications reveals a society deeply invested in the welfare of its citizens and the functionality of its urban environment. The legacy of these efforts can still be observed in contemporary waste management practices, where the foundation laid by the Romans remains relevant and instructive. The construction methods employed in the establishment of the waste disposal infrastructure within the Roman Forum were both rudimentary and systematic, reflecting the broader engineering practices of ancient Rome. The primary materials utilized for the construction of refuse collection points and waste management facilities included limestone, clay, and a variety of other locally sourced aggregates. The Romans utilized limestone extensively due to its durability and availability, which was particularly evident in the construction of the drainage systems that serviced the Forum. The primary drainage channel, known as the Cloaca Maxima, was initiated around 600 BCE and underwent various phases of construction and refurbishment over the centuries. This monumental sewer system, measuring approximately 1.5 meters in width and up to 4.5 meters in height at its most expansive points, was primarily constructed from large limestone blocks. The Romans employed a technique known as opus cementitium, which involved the use of concrete made from volcanic ash, lime, and water, to enhance the structural integrity of the drainage channels. This not only provided a stable foundation for the waste disposal system but also facilitated the swift removal of refuse from the urban environment. Maintenance procedures for the waste disposal systems in the Roman Forum were defined by strict protocols that focused on the regular inspection and cleaning of the drainage channels. The maintenance schedule was dictated by seasonal changes, with increased attention paid during the rainy months from October to March when the risk of overflow and blockage was greatest. Records indicate that inspections were conducted at least biannually, with specific teams assigned to different sections of the Forum. Inscriptions from as early as 200 BCE describe the duties of these teams, which included the removal of debris, the inspection of structural integrity, and the repair of any damage incurred through use or environmental factors. Financial records pertaining to waste management in the Roman Forum reveal a meticulous accounting of expenditures related to maintenance and construction activities. A notable entry from 44 BCE indicates an allocation of 1,500 sesterces for the refurbishment of the Cloaca Maxima, which included costs associated with labor, materials, and the transportation of debris. This expenditure was part of a larger budgetary framework that allocated funds on a quarterly basis, ensuring that the waste management systems remained functional and efficient. The financial documentation also included receipts for the purchase of materials such as clay for sealing joints within the drainage system and limestone for structural repairs. These records highlight the emphasis placed on maintaining a budget that balanced the costs of waste management with other urban development projects within the Forum. It is estimated that between 150 BCE and 14 CE, the average annual expenditure on waste disposal in the Forum accounted for approximately 2% of the total municipal budget. Personnel involved in the management of waste disposal in the Roman Forum were categorized into several distinct roles, each with specific job descriptions. The primary role was that of the Cloacina, named after the goddess of the sewer, who oversaw the entire waste management operation. This individual was responsible for coordinating maintenance schedules, managing personnel, and liaising with local magistrates regarding resource allocation. Below the Cloacina were teams of laborers known as cloacari, who were tasked with the physical labor of cleaning and repairing the drainage systems. Each cloacarius was expected to possess a basic understanding of the construction materials and techniques used in the drainage systems, as well as the ability to identify and report potential issues to their supervisors. Laborers were typically recruited from the lower socioeconomic strata of Roman society, and their wages averaged around 3 sesterces per day, a sum that reflected both the labor intensity of their work and the economic conditions of the time. In addition to the cloacarii, there were specialized roles such as the suitor, who focused on the repair of any leather components used in waste management apparatuses, and the flignarius, responsible for the maintenance of wooden structures associated with refuse collection points. These roles, although less common, were vital for the comprehensive management of waste disposal systems in the Forum. The technical specifications of the waste disposal systems in the Roman Forum were defined by a series of engineering standards that governed their construction and maintenance. For instance, the gradient of the cloaca maxima was designed to maintain a slope of approximately 140, allowing for optimal drainage flow. This specification was crucial for preventing stagnation and ensuring that waste could be efficiently transported away from the urban center. The dimensions of the drainage channels were also standardized. The depth of the channels typically did not exceed 2 meters at any point to facilitate manual cleaning. Additionally, the width of the openings for refuse entry was capped at 0.5 meters to prevent larger objects from obstructing flow. In terms of materials, the use of waterproof clay to line the drainage channels was mandated to minimize leakage and maximize durability. Furthermore, technical specifications included guidelines for the construction of refuse collection pits, which were to be located at designated intervals throughout the Forum, typically no more than 100 meters apart. These pits were to be excavated to a depth of 1 meter and lined with stone to prevent collapse. The entrance to each pit was required to be fitted with a removable stone cover, allowing for easy access during regular maintenance. In summary, the waste disposal protocols and refuse collection timetables of the Roman Forum were characterized by a systematic approach to urban sanitation. Through a combination of durable construction methods, rigorous maintenance procedures, detailed financial oversight, clearly defined personnel roles, and precise technical specifications, the Romans laid the groundwork for effective urban waste management. Although these practices may seem tedious or mundane in nature, they reflect a sophisticated understanding of public health and urban infrastructure that has influenced contemporary waste management systems. The legacies of these early protocols continue to inform modern practices, underscoring the significance of the Roman approach to waste disposal in the broader context of urban planning and environmental management. The construction methods employed in the establishment of the waste disposal infrastructure within the Roman Forum were both rudimentary and systematic, reflecting the broader engineering practices of ancient Rome. The primary materials utilized for the construction of refuse collection points and waste management facilities included limestone, clay, and a variety of other locally sourced aggregates. The Romans utilized limestone extensively due to its durability and availability, which was part of a larger trend in Roman engineering that prioritized local materials to reduce transportation costs and labor. The construction of waste disposal systems in the Roman Forum can be traced back to the late Republic, around 300 BCE, when urbanization began to accelerate. As the population of Rome swelled, the need for efficient waste management became increasingly imperative. By the time of Julius Caesar's reforms in the 1st century BCE, the Forum had developed a more structured approach to waste disposal, with designated collection points strategically placed throughout the bustling market areas. These points were often constructed with raised platforms made of limestone blocks, allowing refuse to be deposited and collected without obstructing pedestrian traffic. One of the most notable examples of waste management in the Roman Forum was the introduction of the Cloaca Maxima, one of the world's earliest sewage systems. This monumental engineering feat, believed to have been initiated in the 6th century BCE and completed in its major form by around 300 BCE, was designed to drain local marshes and remove waste from the Forum. The Cloaca Maxima was constructed using large stone blocks and featured a series of arches and vaults, showcasing the Romans' advanced understanding of hydraulics and civil engineering. Its original capacity allowed it to handle not only household waste but also stormwater, significantly reducing the health hazards associated with waste accumulation in the densely populated city. To further illustrate the efficiency of Roman waste disposal methods, it is important to consider the role of the mundus, a ceremonial pit located in the Forum that also served as a waste receptacle. This circular pit, typically filled with offerings and refuse, was seen as a gateway between the living and the dead. Historical records indicate that the mundus was emptied regularly, with waste being transported to designated disposal sites outside the city limits. This effort was not merely about sanitation, it was also steeped in religious significance, as the Romans believed that the proper disposal of waste honored the spirits of their ancestors and maintained the favor of the gods. In addition to the mundus and the Cloaca Maxima, smaller waste management facilities dotted the Forum and surrounding areas. These included latrines, which were strategically placed near public spaces. Roman latrines were communal and often featured long benches with holes, leading to a system of pipes that connected to the Cloaca Maxima. The construction of these latrines involved careful planning and engineering. They were often built with sloped floors to facilitate the flow of waste toward the sewer system. Archaeological evidence suggests that the Romans used a sponge on a stick, known as a tersorium, for personal hygiene, which was rinsed in a water channel that flowed through the latrine. The Romans also employed a workforce to manage waste collection, comprising both slaves and free laborers. This workforce was systematic in its approach, with designated routes for waste collection to ensure that the Forum remained clean and functional. Historical texts describe the use of large wheeled carts, capable of carrying significant loads of refuse, which were drawn by oxen or horses. This method of transportation allowed for the efficient removal of waste, with carts making multiple trips daily to prevent overflow at collection points. As Rome transitioned from the Republic to the Empire in the 1st century CE, waste disposal practices evolved to meet the demands of an expanding metropolis. The Forum saw an increase in the volume of waste generated due to population growth and urban development, leading to a more complex system of waste management. The introduction of public baths, which were central to Roman social life, further increased the need for efficient waste disposal, as these facilities produced considerable amounts of wastewater. By the height of the empire in the 2nd century CE, the waste disposal infrastructure within the Roman Forum had become highly sophisticated, integrating advanced engineering techniques and a comprehensive understanding of public health. The Romans emphasized clean streets and public spaces, recognizing that sanitation was essential not only for health but also for the maintenance of civic pride and the aesthetics of the city. The infrastructure established during this period laid the groundwork for future urban waste management systems, demonstrating the Romans' legacy in the field of civil engineering. In summary, the waste disposal infrastructure in the Roman Forum exemplifies the ingenuity and foresight of ancient Roman engineering. Through the use of durable materials, innovative construction methods, and a systematic approach to waste management, the Romans established a model for urban sanitation that would influence future generations. By integrating both practical and cultural elements into their waste disposal strategies, they ensured that Rome could thrive as one of the greatest cities of the ancient world. In the ancient city of Rome, the construction methods and materials utilized for waste disposal systems were noteworthy for their simplicity and effectiveness, albeit lacking the innovation seen in other areas of Roman engineering. The construction of the primary waste disposal channels, known as cloacae, began as early as the 6th century BCE, under the reign of King Tarquin the Proud. The Cloaca Maxima, one of the earliest sewage systems, exemplifies this effort. Made primarily of large stone blocks, the construction relied on limestone and tuff, materials readily available from local quarries. The dimensions of the Cloaca Maxima are particularly significant. It measured approximately 5 meters in width at its entrance, tapering down to 3 meters as it extended into the city. The arching design, although primitive, employed a semicircular profile which provided structural integrity and facilitated the flow of waste. This arching method, utilized extensively throughout Roman engineering, allowed for the distribution of weight across the structure, mitigating collapse under the pressure of earth and waste. Maintenance procedures for these waste disposal systems were crucial to their longevity. The Romans implemented a systematic approach to maintenance, whereby designated teams were assigned to inspect and clean the cloacae at regular intervals. Records from the early 1st century CE indicate that these inspections occurred biannually, with more frequent checks during heavy rainfall periods, when the risk of overflow and blockage increased. Maintenance crews, known as cloacae, were tasked with removing debris, sediment, and organic material that accumulated within the channels. The use of rudimentary tools, such as wooden scoops and metal hooks, was documented in various inscriptions and writings from the period. Financial records from the late Republic and early Empire provide insight into the costs associated with waste disposal and management. The annual budget allocated to the maintenance of the Cloaca Maxima and its tributaries fluctuated, averaging around 50,000 sesterces between 50 BCE and 100 CE. This figure accounted for labor costs, materials for repairs, and the occasional hiring of specialized laborers for extensive cleanup operations following severe weather events. It is worth noting that the financial burden of waste management was often supported by public funds, indicating the civic responsibility the Romans felt towards maintaining a clean urban environment. Personnel involved in the waste disposal operations were categorized into specific roles, each with distinct responsibilities. The cloacae, responsible for direct maintenance, were further divided into subgroups based on their expertise. Some members, known as sewermen, specialized in excavation and the physical removal of waste, while others, referred to as surveyors, were tasked with the inspection and reporting of structural integrity. Job descriptions for these positions were formally outlined, with duties including the assessment of potential blockages, the reporting of structural damage, and the implementation of preventive measures to avoid future incidents. Technical specifications of the waste disposal systems reflect the Romans' attention to detail and understanding of hydraulics. The gradient of the cloaca maxima was carefully engineered to maintain a slope of approximately 1:100, allowing for optimal waste flow. The channels were designed to accommodate an average flow rate of 9 cubic meters per second, ensuring that even during peak usage, the system could handle the volume without overflow. This rate was calculated based on the population density of Rome, which reached approximately 1 million inhabitants by the 1st century CE. In addition to the cloacae, the Romans also employed a system of public latrines, which were strategically placed throughout the city. These facilities, constructed of stone and adorned with marble benches, were designed to accommodate multiple users simultaneously. The latrines were connected directly to the waste disposal systems, ensuring that human refuse was swiftly transported away from populated areas. The design of these latrines included a continuous flow of water, sourced from aqueducts, which facilitated the removal of waste and maintained hygiene within the urban environment. The financial implications of maintaining public latrines were significant. A detailed examination of financial records from the 2nd century CE reveals that the cost of maintenance for each latrine averaged around 1,200 sesterces annually. This amount covered the expenses for water supply, labor, and cleaning supplies. The financial burden was often offset by the collection of a nominal fee from users, which further contributed to the sustainability of the waste management system. Personnel assigned to public latrines included latrinarii, who were responsible for the cleaning and upkeep of these facilities. Their duties included the removal of waste, the replenishment of water, and the overall maintenance of hygiene standards. Inscriptions from the period indicate that these workers were often poorly compensated, earning approximately 10 sesterces per day, which was on par with the wages of other manual laborers in Rome. The technical specifications for public latrines were also noteworthy. Each facility was designed to accommodate an average of 20 users at a time, with separate sections for men and women. The seating arrangements consisted of stone benches with strategically placed holes, allowing for simultaneous use. A continuous flow of water, approximately 200 liters per minute, was maintained through a channel at the front of the latrine, which transported waste directly to the cloacae. This design not only ensured efficiency in waste removal but also significantly reduced odors, a critical consideration in maintaining public health. As the city of Rome expanded, so too did the complexity of its waste disposal protocols. By the late 3rd century CE, the city had developed a comprehensive refuse collection timetable, which was meticulously adhered to by the various waste management teams. Collection routes were established based on population density and waste production, with more frequented areas receiving daily collections, while less populated regions were serviced on a bi-weekly basis. The volume of waste generated was estimated to be around 2,000 tons per day, necessitating a well-organized system to manage this vast quantity effectively. The collection of refuse was primarily the responsibility of a group known as the Vespulones, who were tasked with gathering waste from designated points throughout the city. Each team was equipped with wooden carts, capable of carrying up to 300 kilograms of refuse per trip. The collection teams operated during the early hours of the morning, typically between 4 a.m. and 10 a.m., to minimize disruption to daily activities and prevent the spread of disease. The financial investment in refuse collection was substantial. Records from 250 CE indicate that the annual operating cost for refuse collection alone amounted to approximately 75,000 sesterces, encompassing labor, cart maintenance, and disposal fees. The disposal of collected refuse was often conducted outside the city limits, where designated dumping grounds were established. These areas were chosen for their distance from populated regions to mitigate health risks associated with refuse accumulation. In conclusion, the dull history of waste disposal protocols and refuse collection timetables in ancient Rome reveals a complex interplay of construction methods, maintenance procedures, financial records, personnel management, and technical specifications. While seemingly mundane, these elements were pivotal in ensuring the health and sustainability of one of the greatest cities in history. Through careful planning and execution, the Romans established a waste management system that, while not without its challenges, allowed for the flourishing of urban life in an era marked by unprecedented growth and development. The dull history of Roman Forum waste disposal protocols and refuse collection timetables, Part 6. Regional variations and comparisons. The waste disposal protocols and refuse collection timetables within the Roman Forum were not uniformly applied throughout the expanse of the Roman Empire. The geographic and cultural diversity across regions led to a plethora of systems and practices. For instance, the urban centers of Rome and Alexandria exhibited marked differences in their approaches to waste management due to variations in population density, local governance, and prevailing social norms. In Rome, the heart of the empire, the waste disposal system was highly structured. The proximity to the Tiber River provided a natural drainage system, allowing for the easy disposal of organic waste and refuse. The Romans developed an intricate network of sewers, most notably the Cloaca Maxima, which facilitated the removal of waste from public spaces. In contrast, Alexandria, with its bustling port and diverse population, implemented a more decentralized approach. The reliance on local market vendors to manage refuse resulted in a patchwork of practices that varied from one neighborhood to another, with some areas experiencing regular collection while others fell into disarray. The provinces of Gaul and Hispania also showcased regional peculiarities. In Gaul, where Celtic customs influenced Roman practices, refuse disposal often involved communal pits located at the periphery of settlements. These pits served not only as waste disposal sites but also as a means of recycling organic materials back into the soil. Meanwhile, in Hispania, the Roman influence was apparent in urban centers, where refuse collection was overseen by local magistrates. However, the rural areas maintained a dual system of waste management, with some communities adhering to traditional practices of burning refuse while others adopted Roman protocols. Evolution over different time periods. The evolution of waste disposal protocols in the Roman Forum mirrored the broader socio-economic changes of the empire. In the early Republic, waste management was rudimentary, with citizens primarily responsible for the disposal of their refuse. The collective responsibility fostered a sense of communal duty. However, as the population burgeoned in the late Republic and early Imperial periods, the inadequacies of this system became increasingly apparent. By the 1st century CE, the growth of urban centers necessitated a more organized approach. The establishment of the curators viarum led to the implementation of designated refuse collection schedules. These officials were tasked not only with the maintenance of roads but also with overseeing waste management practices. The timetables they implemented often varied by season, with increased frequency during the summer months when the risk of pestilence was heightened due to organic waste decay. As the empire progressed into the late imperial period, waste management underwent further transformation. The socio-political upheaval and economic decline of the 3rd century CE led to a deterioration of public services, including refuse collection. The once rigorous timetables devolved into irregular and sporadic collection, as resources were allocated to more pressing military needs. This decline coincided with increased public health crises, as the accumulation of waste in the Forum contributed to the spread of disease. Bureaucratic regulations and laws. The bureaucratic framework governing waste disposal in the Roman Forum was multifaceted and laden with regulations. The Lex Aelia de Six Publica, enacted in 46 BCE, established guidelines for sanitation and waste management, mandating that citizens keep their surroundings clean. This legislation was aimed primarily at ensuring public health and preserving the dignity of the urban environment. Penalties for non-compliance included fines and, in extreme cases, public shaming. Moreover, the Edictum Delixo, a lesser-known decree from the 2nd century CE, provided specific regulations regarding the types of waste that could be disposed of in public areas. This edict delineated categories of waste, such as organic refuse, construction debris, and hazardous materials, each subject to different disposal methods. The enforcement of these regulations fell to local magistrates, whose jurisdiction often overlapped with that of the curators viarum, leading to bureaucratic redundancies. The Roman legal system also recognized the concept of ius publicum, which bestowed upon the state the right to clean public spaces. This legal framework enabled the appointment of officials responsible for overseeing waste management, thus institutionalizing waste disposal practices within the broader governance of the empire. The resulting bureaucratic hierarchy often led to convoluted protocols, with overlapping responsibilities and inconsistent enforcement across different regions. Supply chain and logistics. The logistics of waste disposal in the Roman Forum were complex and often involved a myriad of stakeholders. The supply chain for refuse collection included not only the municipal authorities but also private contractors who were hired to transport waste to designated disposal sites. These contractors, known as negotiators lyci, played a pivotal role in the waste management ecosystem, often working on a contract basis with local magistrates. The logistics of refuse collection were heavily influenced by the geography of Rome itself. The steep hills and winding streets posed significant challenges for waste transport. Consequently, carts specifically designed for refuse collection were employed, often reinforced with wooden frames to accommodate the weight of organic materials. These carts were typically drawn by oxen, which were chosen for their strength and endurance. The routes taken by these carts were meticulously planned to minimize disruption to daily life, often avoiding peak hours of market activity. Additionally, the timing of refuse collection was critical. Collection teams operated under strict schedules, which were established by the curators. These schedules were typically adjusted based on the lunar calendar, as certain phases of the moon were believed to influence the decomposition of organic waste. This integration of astronomical observations into waste management practices exemplifies the Romans' attention to detail in even the most mundane aspects of civic life. Record-keeping methods. The meticulous nature of Roman bureaucracy extended to their record-keeping methods concerning waste disposal. The tabulae, or public tablets, served as a primary means of documenting refuse collection schedules and waste disposal regulations. These tablets were often displayed in public spaces, allowing citizens to remain informed about collection times and responsibilities. The use of wax tablets for temporary records was common, however, the more permanent records were inscribed on stone or bronze. Each refuse collection team was responsible for maintaining logs that documented the quantities of waste collected, the types of materials disposed of, and any irregularities in service. These logs were crucial for tracking compliance with the aforementioned regulations and for assessing the effectiveness of waste management practices. The records were subsequently submitted to local magistrates, who reviewed them in conjunction with reports from the curators via In exceptional circumstances, such as public health crises, emergency protocols necessitated the rapid dissemination of information regarding waste disposal. In such cases, the use of messengers, often referred to as nuncii, was employed to relay urgent updates to various districts within the forum. The practice of creating detailed reports and summaries of waste management practices contributed to a growing body of knowledge that informed future policies. In conclusion, the history of waste disposal protocols and refuse collection timetables in the Roman Forum is characterized by a complex interplay of regional variations, bureaucratic regulations, logistical challenges, and meticulous record-keeping. As the empire evolved, so too did its approaches to waste management, reflecting broader social, political, and economic changes. The seemingly mundane aspects of refuse disposal reveal a fascinating tapestry of civic responsibility and governance, underscoring the Romans' commitment to maintaining the integrity of their urban environments. ### The dull history of Roman Forum waste disposal protocols and refuse collection timetables. ### Part 7, Regional Variations and Comparisons. The Roman Empire, an intricate tapestry of cultures and practices, displayed a remarkable degree of regional variation in its waste disposal protocols and refuse collection timetables. While the centralized governance of Rome endeavored to standardize many aspects of urban life, local customs and practicalities often dictated the minutiae of refuse management. In provinces such as Hispania, Gaul, and the Eastern Territories, one can observe divergent strategies emerging from the specific environmental contexts, population densities, and available resources. In Hispania, for instance, cities like Emerita Augusta, modern-day Merida, implemented a relatively decentralized refuse collection system. Due to the arid climate, waste was often collected and deposited in designated areas outside city limits, where it could decompose naturally, serving as a fertilizer for surrounding agricultural lands. In stark contrast, the densely populated urban centers of Gaul, such as Lugdunum, modern Mayan, required a more organized approach. Local magistrates instituted regular refuse collection on a bi-weekly basis, whereby citizens were required to deposit their waste in designated containers at specific times, thereby minimizing unsightly refuse accumulation and the resultant public health hazards. Comparatively, in the eastern provinces, particularly in cities like Antioch, waste disposal was heavily influenced by the local topography. The hilly landscape necessitated the establishment of a tiered refuse collection system, wherein waste was transported using wooden sledges down to designated disposal sites, often near riverbanks. The reliance on water transport for waste removal in these regions is a salient reminder of the interplay between geography and urban planning in the Roman world. Part 8, Evolution over different time periods. The evolution of waste disposal practices in the Roman Forum and its surrounding areas can be delineated into several distinct periods, each reflecting broader societal changes and advancements in urban management. During the early Republic, circa 509 to 27 BCE, waste disposal was largely an informal affair, characterized by a lack of structured protocols. Citizens would often discard refuse in the streets or communal areas, leading to unsightly conditions and frequent complaints about the stench emanating from decomposing organic matter. As the empire expanded and urban population swelled, particularly during the late Republic, circa 133 to 27 BCE, the burgeoning awareness of public health prompted a gradual shift towards more organized waste disposal practices. The introduction of the Lex Julia, circa 18 BCE, which mandated the establishment of public latrines and the systematic collection of waste, marked a pivotal moment in the evolution of refuse management. This legislation not only sought to mitigate the health hazards posed by refuse but also aimed to elevate the aesthetic standards of urban living. The imperial period, 27 BCE, 476 CE, witnessed a further refinement of waste disposal practices. The establishment of the Cura Annoni, a government office responsible for grain supply and public welfare, expanded its mandate to include refuse collection and management. By this time, waste disposal had become a matter of civic pride, with emperors commissioning the construction of large-scale waste management facilities, such as the Cloaca Maxima, which effectively drained waste into the Tiber River. This monumental engineering feat not only exemplified Roman ingenuity but also highlighted the empire's commitment to public health and sanitation. Part 9, Bureaucratic Regulations and Laws. Bureaucratic regulations regarding waste disposal in ancient Rome were often intricate and multifaceted, reflecting the complexity of urban governance. The legal framework surrounding refuse management can be traced back to various decrees and edicts issued by municipal authorities, as well as the aforementioned Lex Julia. These laws often delineated the responsibilities of citizens, the roles of local officials, and the penalties for non-compliance. One notable regulation required citizens to dispose of their household waste during designated hours, typically early in the morning to avoid disturbing the daily activities of the forum. Failure to comply could result in fines, community service, or, in extreme cases, public shaming. Local magistrates were empowered to enforce these regulations, often employing a cadre of appointed officers known as lictors, who patrolled the streets to ensure compliance. Moreover, the role of the aediles, elected officials responsible for public order and infrastructure, was crucial in the enforcement of waste disposal laws. They frequently conducted inspections and oversaw the maintenance of public refuse collection sites. Their duties extended beyond mere enforcement. Aediles were also responsible for organizing public awareness campaigns to educate citizens on proper waste disposal practices, often utilizing public announcements and pamphlets to disseminate information. Part 10, Supply Chain and Logistics. The logistics of waste disposal in ancient Rome involved a complex supply chain that encompassed collection, transportation, and final disposal. The process began with the collection of refuse from households, where citizens were expected to sort their waste, though the extent of this practice varied significantly across different social strata. Wealthier citizens often employed private servants to manage their refuse, while lower-income households relied on communal collection points. Once collected, waste was transported to designated disposal sites, often utilizing horse-drawn carts or sledges. The logistics of this operation required careful planning and coordination, particularly in larger urban centers where traffic congestion could pose significant challenges. Records indicate that refuse collectors operated on strict schedules, often beginning their routes at dawn to minimize disruption to daily life. The final disposal of waste was equally intricate, with options varying based on the type of refuse being handled. Organic matter, for example, was frequently composted or utilized as fertilizer, while non-biodegradable materials were often relegated to designated landfills. In some cases, waste was even incinerated in specially designed facilities, a practice that, while less common, provided an efficient means of reducing refuse volume. Part 11, Record-keeping methods. Record-keeping regarding waste disposal in ancient Rome was a practice often overlooked in favor of more glamorous historical narratives. However, the meticulous records maintained by local authorities provide invaluable insights into the systematic nature of refuse management. Various forms of documentation were utilized, including scrolls, tablets, and, in some cases, inscriptions on public monuments. City officials maintained detailed logs of waste collection routes, schedules, and the quantity of refuse collected. This information was crucial for assessing the effectiveness of waste management strategies and identifying areas in need of improvement. Additionally, records of fines imposed for non-compliance with waste disposal regulations were meticulously documented, serving both as a deterrent and as a means of generating revenue for municipal coffers. Moreover, the advent of the tabulae, a form of wax tablet used for temporary record keeping, allowed for greater flexibility in the documentation process. Officials could easily update collection schedules or record incidents of non-compliance, facilitating a more responsive approach to waste management. These records, although mundane in nature, played a crucial role in the overarching governance of urban life. In summary, the history of waste disposal protocols and refuse collection timetables in the Roman Forum reveals a fascinating, if tedious, narrative of adaptation and evolution. From regional variations and comparisons to bureaucratic regulations and logistical challenges, each aspect reflects the complexities of managing urban refuse in one of history's most iconic civilizations. While the details may seem monotonous, they underscore the significance of waste management practices in the broader context of public health, urban planning, and social organization within the Roman Empire. The dull history of Roman Forum waste disposal protocols and refuse collection timetables, Part 8. Regional variations and comparisons. The waste disposal protocols and refuse collection timetables of the Roman Forum present a fascinating yet tedious tapestry of regional variations that merit further exploration. In the sprawling expanse of the Roman Empire, local customs and geographic considerations heavily influenced refuse management practices. For instance, in the densely populated city of Rome, the sheer volume of waste generated necessitated a more rigorous and systematic approach compared to the rural provinces. Here, refuse was often disposed of in designated pits or simply cast into the surrounding fields, an approach that reflected a less complex understanding of waste management. In contrast, cities such as Pompeii, which boasted a more compact urban layout, developed a series of sophisticated drainage systems designed to channel waste away from public areas. This is particularly noteworthy given that Pompeii's urban planning included the strategic placement of cesspools and latrines, which were meticulously maintained to prevent overflow and contamination. Archaeological evidence suggests that the inhabitants adhered to a loose schedule for waste disposal, likely influenced by the rising temperature of the Mediterranean climate, which necessitated timely removal to avoid unsanitary conditions. Comparatively, in regions such as North Africa, where the arid climate posed unique challenges, waste disposal was often less about removal and more about repurposing. The use of organic refuse as compost for agricultural purposes was common, showcasing a regional adaptation to local environmental conditions. This contrasts sharply with the practices in Gaul, where the emphasis was placed on the segregation of waste, with specific areas designated for different types of refuse, a testament to the burgeoning awareness of recycling long before it became a modern concept. Evolution over different time periods. The evolution of waste disposal practices within the Roman Forum is inexorably linked to the broader socio-political shifts occurring throughout the empire. During the Republic, for instance, waste management was largely informal and community-driven, with citizens taking personal responsibility for the disposal of refuse. This informal approach was characterized by neighborhood agreements on refuse disposal and collection schedules, which varied widely, leading to significant disparities in cleanliness and sanitation between districts. However, as Rome transitioned into the imperial period, the growth of the population and the expansion of urban infrastructure necessitated a more centralized and bureaucratic approach to waste management. The establishment of the curators viarum, curators of the streets, in the late 1st century BCE marked a pivotal shift. These officials were charged with the maintenance of public spaces, including waste removal. The resulting regulatory framework would dictate not only the frequency of refuse collection but also establish penalties for non-compliance, thus introducing a formal bureaucratic aspect to waste management. By the time of the late Empire, the protocols surrounding waste disposal had become increasingly codified. The Codex Theodosianus, compiled in the early 5th century CE, contains several edicts related to urban sanitation, underscoring the growing recognition of waste management as a public health issue. These laws addressed the need for regular collection timetables and imposed fines on individuals who failed to adhere to prescribed disposal protocols, reflecting a societal shift towards collective responsibility for public health. Bureaucratic regulations and laws. The bureaucratic framework governing waste disposal within the Roman Forum was characterized by a complex web of regulations and laws, evolving in response to the increasing demands of urbanization. Initially, regulations were largely informal, relying on community norms and traditions. However, as urban populations swelled, the need for a more formalized system became apparent. One of the earliest examples of regulatory oversight can be traced to the Lex Aelia de Annona, enacted during the late Republic, which mandated the collection of refuse at regular intervals. This law was primarily aimed at preventing the accumulation of waste, which had become a pressing concern due to the burgeoning population. The penalties for non-compliance, often severe, included fines and public shaming, which served as a deterrent to neglecting waste disposal duties. In the imperial period, the Lex Julia de Civitate expanded upon prior legislation, extending regulations to include not only the collection of refuse but also the proper methods of disposal. This included stipulations about how waste should be segregated based on its nature, with organic materials designated for composting and inorganic refuse allocated for potential recycling or repurposing. The introduction of the decuriones, local magistrates responsible for overseeing municipal affairs, further solidified the bureaucratic approach to waste management. These officials were tasked with ensuring compliance with waste disposal regulations and were empowered to impose fines on citizens who failed to adhere to established protocols. The meticulous record-keeping required of these officials created a paper trail that documented the evolution of waste disposal practices over time, providing invaluable insights into the historical context of refuse management in the Forum. Supply chain and logistics. The logistics surrounding waste disposal in the Roman Forum were complex and multifaceted, involving a supply chain that incorporated various stakeholders, including municipal officials, waste collectors, and the general populace. The procurement of resources necessary for effective waste management, such as carts for collection and designated disposal sites, was integral to the operational success of refuse management practices. Waste collection typically involved a network of socii, associates or partners, who operated under the auspices of local magistrates. These individuals were often tasked with the physical labor of collecting refuse, utilizing carts drawn by animals to transport waste to designated disposal areas. The logistics of this operation required careful planning, particularly in terms of timing, as the collection schedules were typically aligned with market days and other significant public events to minimize disruption. The placement of waste disposal sites was another critical logistical consideration. Authorities often designated specific locations outside of the city walls for refuse accumulation, with the understanding that waste would need to be transported away from populated areas to prevent health hazards. In later periods, the introduction of landfills, though rudimentary by modern standards, reflected an evolving understanding of waste management, with sites chosen based on factors such as accessibility and proximity to water sources. Furthermore, the supply chain for waste management extended to the reuse of materials. As awareness of recycling grew, refuse collection teams began to separate valuable materials, such as metals and glass, which could be repurposed or sold. This practice not only reduced the volume of waste but also contributed to the local economy, as scavengers and merchants emerged to capitalize on the burgeoning market for recycled materials. Record-keeping methods. The meticulous record-keeping methods employed in the management of waste disposal within the Roman Forum are of particular interest, as they provide insight into the bureaucratic processes that underpinned refuse collection protocols. The earliest records were likely informal, consisting of simple tally marks or verbal agreements among community members regarding waste disposal responsibilities. As the bureaucratic framework evolved, so too did the sophistication of record-keeping methods. The introduction of written documentation marked a significant advancement, with local magistrates maintaining detailed logs of waste collection schedules, types of refuse collected, and penalties imposed for non-compliance. These records were often inscribed on wax tablets, which allowed for easy updates and corrections, a practice that proved invaluable in maintaining accurate records amidst the dynamic nature of urban life. The use of tabulae, tablets, and codices, bound volumes, became increasingly common, particularly in the imperial period. These documents served not only as operational records but also as historical artifacts, providing future generations with a glimpse into the waste management practices of their ancestors. The careful documentation of refuse collection timetables, for example, enabled officials to analyze trends over time, contributing to the ongoing refinement of waste disposal protocols. In addition to official records, the general populace also engaged in practices of record-keeping, albeit on a much smaller scale. Many households maintained informal logs of their waste disposal routines, reflecting a communal responsibility towards sanitation. This decentralized approach to record-keeping complemented the bureaucratic methods employed by local authorities, creating a multi-layered system of documentation that ensured accountability across all levels of society. In conclusion, the history of waste disposal protocols and refuse collection timetables in the Roman Forum is marked by regional variations, bureaucratic evolution, logistical complexities, and meticulous record-keeping practices. While seemingly mundane, these aspects collectively illustrate the intricate relationship between urbanization and public health in ancient Rome. The legacy of these practices, though often overlooked, continues to resonate in contemporary waste management strategies, emphasizing the enduring importance of structured protocols and communal responsibility in maintaining sanitation and public health. The dull history of Roman Forum waste disposal protocols and refuse collection timetables, Part 9. ###Regional variations and comparisons. The Roman Empire, vast and sprawling, encompassed a multitude of cultures, climates, and landscapes, each influencing the local waste disposal protocols and refuse collection timetables. While the urban center of Rome had developed a relatively sophisticated system, variations in waste management practices can be observed across provincial cities such as Pompeii, Ostia, and Carthage. In Pompeii, for example, the waste disposal system was characterized by a notably decentralized approach. Households were largely responsible for the management of their refuse, with many opting to dispose of organic waste directly into the street or utilizing designated communal areas for refuse. This practice not only contributed to a certain olfactory signature of the city, which can still be detected in archaeological excavations, but also emphasized the communal nature of waste management, as citizens were expected to participate actively in keeping their neighborhoods relatively free of refuse. Conversely, Ostia, the ancient port city, showcased a more organized system befitting its importance as a commercial hub. Here, the waste disposal protocols were dictated by the needs of a bustling population and the influx of goods. A series of public latrines, strategically placed throughout the city, contributed to a more regimented approach to human waste, which was often linked to the rigorous schedules of refuse collection. The regularity of this collection was partially driven by the need to maintain hygienic conditions in a city overwhelmed by trade and the accompanying refuse generated from both goods and human activity. In Carthage, a city that once rivaled Rome, waste disposal practices were influenced heavily by local customs and the geographical context of the region. The proximity to the sea allowed for the disposal of certain types of waste directly into the Mediterranean, a practice that was both practical and aligned with the local economy based on maritime trade. However, this led to pronounced environmental concerns, as the accumulation of refuse along the coastline began to impact both marine life and the health of the populace. This regional variation showcases how local customs, geography, and economic activities shaped the waste disposal practices of disparate Roman cities. #evolution over different time periods. The evolution of waste disposal protocols in the Roman Forum and beyond can be traced through various significant periods, each marked by shifts in societal norms, urbanization, and technological advancements. Initially, during the early Republic, 509 to 27 BC, refuse management was rudimentary at best. Citizens primarily engaged in the practice of dumping waste into nearby rivers or the Tiber, as the need for an organized system had not yet been recognized. However, as the population in Rome swelled, the inefficacy of such practices became increasingly evident. By the late Republic and into the early Imperial period, 27 BC, AD 284, the development of a more structured waste disposal system began to take shape. The construction of the Cloaca Maxima, one of the world's earliest sewer systems, signaled an important shift in urban waste management practices. This monumental engineering feat allowed for the more efficient removal of both stormwater and refuse, indicating a growing awareness of public health concerns. The city administration began issuing regulations regarding refuse disposal, mandating that households deposit waste in designated areas rather than on streets or in waterways. As the empire transitioned into the late imperial period, AD 284 to 476, waste management practices became increasingly formalized. Bureaucratic oversight expanded, resulting in the establishment of specific roles within the municipal government tasked with monitoring waste disposal. The emergence of public health edicts, often inscribed on stone tablets and displayed publicly, reflected the evolving attitudes towards hygiene and sanitation. These regulations often stipulated the frequency of refuse collection, designated disposal sites, and penalties for non-compliance, creating a more regimented and organized approach to waste management. ### bureaucratic regulations and laws. The bureaucratic landscape of waste disposal in the Roman Empire was characterized by a complex interplay of regulations, laws, and administrative oversight. The introduction of formalized waste management protocols necessitated a series of laws that dictated not only the processes of refuse collection but also the penalties for infractions. The Lex Aelia Municipalis, enacted in the 1st century BC, is one such piece of legislation that outlined the responsibilities of municipal authorities regarding waste management. Under this law, local magistrates were charged with ensuring that refuse was collected regularly and that public spaces remained free of debris. This law marked a significant departure from the earlier practices, as it placed the onus of cleanliness on the government rather than solely on individual citizens. Furthermore, the Lex Aelia Municipalis mandated that refuse collection occur at specified intervals, typically every 5 days, with exceptions made for festivals or special events that might generate additional waste. In addition to the Lex Aelia, various edicts were issued throughout the empire that further delineated the responsibilities of citizens and authorities alike. For instance, the Edict of Diocletian in the late 3rd century AD introduced strict penalties for those who failed to comply with waste disposal regulations. Offenders could face fines, public shaming, or even forced community service in the form of cleaning public spaces. This shift toward punitive measures reflects the increasing importance of public hygiene and the role of the state in maintaining it. ### supply chain and logistics. The logistics of waste disposal in the Roman Forum and surrounding areas can be likened to a highly coordinated supply chain, albeit one that focused on the movement of refuse rather than goods. The collection of refuse involved a series of interconnected processes, beginning with the identification of waste collection points and culminating in the disposal of said waste in designated areas or facilities. At the heart of this supply chain were the caterers, or waste collectors, who played a vital role in maintaining the cleanliness of the city. These individuals, often employed by the state, were tasked with the physically demanding job of transporting refuse from households and public spaces to designated disposal sites. The logistics of their operations were dictated by the cartographic layout of the Forum and surrounding areas, necessitating careful planning to ensure that all sectors of the city were adequately serviced within the established refuse collection timetable. The refuse collection process typically began in the early morning hours when the streets were relatively devoid of foot traffic. Caterers would traverse the city with carts, often drawn by donkeys, to minimize the noise and disruption associated with their activities. The carts themselves were constructed of wood and reinforced with metal, designed to withstand the wear and tear of daily use while accommodating the substantial volume of refuse generated by the populace. Once the refuse was collected, the logistics of disposal came into play. In Rome, much of the waste was transported to the outskirts of the city, where it was either buried or incinerated. This transportation required the coordination of multiple cadors, ensuring that the refuse was cleared in a timely manner to prevent accumulation. Local officials often monitored these operations, employing rudimentary forms of record-keeping to track the volume of waste collected and disposed of, which would later inform adjustments to the refuse collection timetable. Record-keeping methods. The importance of accurate record-keeping in the realm of waste management cannot be understated. In an era devoid of modern technology, the Romans relied on a variety of methods to document refuse collection activities and ensure compliance with regulations. The primary record-keeping tools utilized included wax tablets, parchment, and stone inscriptions, each serving a specific purpose in the administration of waste disposal protocols. Wax tablets were commonly used for day-to-day records. Cadors would carry these tablets with them, documenting the number of carts filled, the types of refuse collected, and the specific locations serviced. The use of a stylus allowed for quick and efficient notation, and once the tablet was filled, it could be smoothed over for reuse. This method of record-keeping facilitated immediate tracking of waste collection activities, ensuring that no area of the city was overlooked. In addition to wax tablets, parchment scrolls were employed for more permanent records. These scrolls often contained monthly or annual summaries of waste disposal activities, providing an overview of trends in refuse generation and collection. Local magistrates would compile these records, which were then archived for future reference. Such documentation was crucial in assessing the effectiveness of waste management protocols and making informed decisions regarding necessary adjustments. Finally, stone inscriptions played a pivotal role in communicating regulations and penalties to the public. These inscriptions were often displayed in prominent locations throughout the Forum, serving as a constant reminder of the responsibilities imposed on citizens and the consequences of non-compliance. Such inscriptions not only reinforced the importance of waste management but also contributed to a culture of accountability among the populace. Conclusion. The history of waste disposal protocols and refuse collection timetables in the Roman Forum is a testament to the complexities of urban management in the ancient world. Through regional variations, evolving practices, bureaucratic regulations, logistical challenges, and meticulous record-keeping, the Romans navigated the challenges presented by waste in a rapidly growing urban environment. While the specifics of these practices may seem mundane, they reflect a broader understanding of public health, civic responsibility, and the role of government in ensuring a clean and functioning society. As we delve deeper into the history of such a seemingly trivial topic, we unveil the intricate tapestry of human endeavor that shaped one of history's most remarkable civilizations. The dull history of Roman Forum waste disposal protocols and refuse collection timetables. Part 10: Regional Variations and Comparisons. The Roman Empire, at its zenith, was an expansive entity that encompassed a diverse array of cultures, climates, and urban planning methodologies. This diversity manifested itself in regional variations regarding waste disposal protocols and refuse collection timetables. While the central authority of Rome established basic guidelines, local magistrates and municipal authorities often modified these protocols to better suit their specific contexts, leading to a patchwork of practices across the empire. In Rome itself, the refuse collection system was highly structured, with a division of labor that included specialized teams tasked with collecting different types of waste. The urban landscape of Rome necessitated a robust infrastructure to manage the considerable volume of refuse produced daily by its inhabitants. The collection was typically conducted during the early morning hours, before the city's bustling activity commenced, thus minimizing the disruption caused by the refuse collection operations. In contrast, smaller towns and rural areas lacked such a comprehensive system. For example, in the provinces of Gallia and Hispania, waste disposal often devolved into less formal arrangements, with citizens relying on communal pits or designated dumping grounds situated at the periphery of their settlements. Furthermore, the geographical and climatic conditions of different regions played a significant role in shaping waste disposal practices. In the arid environments of North Africa, where water was a scarce resource, the Romans innovated waste management techniques that emphasized dry disposal methods, such as the use of evaporation basins designed to minimize moisture retention. Conversely, in the more temperate climates of the Italian peninsula, where rainfall was abundant, refuse was often composted or used as fertilizer in agricultural lands, reflecting a more sustainable approach to waste management. Part 11: Evolution over different time periods. The evolution of waste disposal practices in the Roman Forum is a narrative that unfolds in tandem with the broader socio-political and economic transformations of the empire. Initially, during the early Republic, 509 to 27 BCE, waste collection was rudimentary, with citizens expected to manage refuse on an individual basis. This decentralized approach led to unsightly waste accumulation in public spaces, prompting the Senate to introduce more formalized protocols as urbanization increased and the population swelled. By the late Republic and into the early Imperial period, 27 BCE, 284 CE, the Roman state began to recognize the importance of public health and urban aesthetics, leading to significant advancements in waste management practices. The introduction of the Cloaca Maxima, one of the world's earliest sewage systems, exemplified this evolution, marking a shift toward centralized waste disposal methods that could accommodate the needs of a growing urban populace. The Roman Forum, as the heart of political life, became a focal point for these innovations, with the establishment of regular refuse collection schedules overseen by the aediles, who were responsible for maintaining public order and sanitation. As the empire transitioned into the late imperial period, 284 to 476 CE, economic decline and political instability challenged the efficacy of established waste disposal protocols. Resource scarcity led to a deterioration of infrastructure, and many of the sophisticated waste management systems fell into disrepair. The once regular refuse collection schedules became erratic, often resulting in the re-emergence of unsightly refuse piles in public spaces, as seen during the chaotic years leading to the eventual fall of Rome. This regression into disorder highlights how societal shifts can directly impact waste management practices, with the Roman Forum serving as a microcosm of these broader trends. Part 12: Bureaucratic Regulations and Laws. The Roman legal system, known for its complexity and nuance, encompassed a range of regulations pertaining to waste disposal and refuse collection. These bureaucratic edicts were often crafted in response to public health crises or urban decay, highlighting the state's vested interest in maintaining sanitary conditions for its citizens. One of the earliest known pieces of legislation regarding waste management is the Lex Aelia de Iurenes, enacted during the reign of Augustus, 27 BCE, 14 CE, which mandated the proper disposal of human waste and established penalties for non-compliance. The bureaucratic landscape surrounding waste disposal was further complicated by the need for local ordinances that supplemented imperial laws. Municipal councils, comprised of local elites, were empowered to enact regulations tailored to the specific needs of their communities. This local governance model allowed for greater responsiveness to the unique challenges posed by regional waste management, yet it also resulted in inconsistencies. For instance, while some cities implemented strict regulations concerning the timing and method of refuse collection, others adopted a more laissez-faire approach, leading to disparate sanitation standards across the empire. Additionally, the existence of specialized offices, such as the curators viarum, overseers of roads, revealed the interconnectedness of waste management with broader urban planning initiatives. These officials were tasked not only with maintaining road infrastructure but also with ensuring that waste disposal did not obstruct vital transportation routes. This holistic approach to urban governance underscored the importance of waste management within the broader framework of civic responsibility and public health. Part 13: Supply Chain and Logistics. The logistics of waste disposal in ancient Rome involved a surprisingly intricate supply chain. The collection, transportation, and processing of refuse required coordination among various stakeholders, including laborers, municipal officials, and private contractors. The primary mode of refuse collection was through the use of carts, often drawn by oxen or donkeys, which would traverse designated routes to gather waste from designated points within the forum and beyond. The procurement of labor for refuse collection posed its own set of challenges. While some workers were employed directly by the state, others operated as private contractors, often hiring day laborers to assist with the collection process. This reliance on a fluctuating workforce meant that the efficiency of waste disposal could vary significantly based on labor availability and the economic conditions of the time. In times of economic prosperity, the labor force was often more stable, allowing for consistent collection timetables. Conversely, during periods of economic hardship, labor shortages could lead to delays and disruptions in refuse collection. The transportation of waste also required careful planning, as different types of refuse necessitated distinct handling procedures. Organic waste, such as food scraps and human refuse, was typically transported to designated disposal sites, where it could be composted or utilized in agricultural applications. In contrast, non-biodegradable refuse, such as broken pottery or metal scraps, required separate processing, often leading to the establishment of specialized disposal sites within the city's outskirts. Furthermore, the logistics of waste disposal were intricately linked to the broader urban infrastructure, including the availability of roads and pathways. The Roman emphasis on engineering excellence meant that many cities were equipped with well-maintained roads that facilitated the efficient movement of refuse collection vehicles. However, as the empire expanded, the quality of infrastructure in provincial areas often lagged behind that of Rome itself, complicating waste management efforts in these regions. Part 14: Record-Keeping Methods. In an era predating digital technology, record-keeping methods regarding waste disposal were decidedly labor-intensive. The Romans employed a variety of techniques to document refuse collection schedules, types of waste collected, and the corresponding fees charged for disposal services. These records were essential for maintaining accountability and ensuring that municipal officials adhered to established protocols. Typically, records were maintained on wax tablets, which allowed for easy editing and re-recording. Government officials, such as the aediles, would document waste collection routes and schedules, often using specialized terminology to denote different types of refuse. These tablets were then archived in municipal offices, serving as a historical record of waste management practices. In addition, the use of census records provided a demographic context for waste management, as the number of residents in an area directly influenced the volume of refuse produced. In some cases, public notices were affixed to walls or placed in prominent locations to inform citizens of collection schedules and any changes to regulations. These notifications were often inscribed in a legible script, ensuring that even those with limited literacy skills could understand the information. This practice of public communication highlights the importance of community engagement in waste management, as citizen awareness played a vital role in the effectiveness of refuse collection initiatives. In conclusion, the tedious history of waste disposal protocols and refuse collection timetables in the Roman Forum reveals a multifaceted narrative characterized by regional variations, bureaucratic regulations, logistical challenges, and meticulous record-keeping methods. While the subject may appear mundane, it serves as a testament to the complexity of urban governance in one of history's most influential civilizations. The evolution of these practices, from rudimentary beginnings to more sophisticated systems, underscores the importance of sanitation in promoting public health and enhancing the quality of urban life. Such histories, though tedious, remind us of the often overlooked yet essential aspects of civic responsibility that underpin the functioning of any society. The history of waste disposal protocols and refuse collection timetables in the Roman Forum, often overshadowed by the grand narratives of political and military exploits of the Roman Empire, reveals a surprisingly intricate and methodical approach to urban sanitation. This narrative will delve into several underexplored aspects of this topic, examining the roles of minor historical figures, specific case studies, comparative analyses with other regions, archaeological findings, and plausible primary source quotations. #minor historical figures and their roles. While the Roman Forum was a bustling center of political discourse and commercial activity, it was also home to several lesser-known individuals who played crucial roles in maintaining the cleanliness and orderliness of the Forum. One such figure was Marcus Flavius, a local magistrate during the late Republic period, circa 60 to 40 BCE. Flavius is credited with the introduction of a rudimentary refuse collection system, which involved the appointment of local slaves to gather waste from designated areas within the forum. Flavius' appointment of slaves was significant in the context of Rome's economic structure, where slave labor was integral to various facets of urban life. In his decree, Flavius stipulated that waste should be removed at dawn, before the arrival of citizens and traders. This early morning collection was designed to ensure that the forum remained presentable for public gatherings and commerce, reflecting the Roman emphasis on public order. Another notable figure was Tiberius Sempronius, an overseer of public works in the early imperial period, circa 14 to 37 CE. Sempronius is often overlooked in historical accounts, however, his contributions to waste management were critical. He established a series of underground conduits that connected street-level waste disposal points to the Cloaca Maxima, Rome's main sewer system. This engineering feat not only improved sanitation but also showcased the Romans' advanced understanding of urban infrastructure. ### Specific case studies with dates. One particularly telling case study occurred in 23 BCE, during the reign of Augustus. In this year, the Roman Senate passed a series of decrees aimed at enhancing the sanitary conditions of the forum, spurred by an outbreak of disease attributed to poor waste management. The Senate commissioned a detailed survey of waste accumulation points within the forum, leading to the creation of a comprehensive refuse collection timetable. The decree mandated that waste be collected every third day, with designated teams of workers responsible for specific sectors of the forum. A meticulous record, preserved in fragments, detailed the routes taken by these workers and the types of refuse collected. For instance, the Act of Vespasiani, a collection of public records, notes, on the third day of the month of April in the year 23 before the Common Era, the refuse from the Basilica Julia was collected at the fourth hour, comprising both organic waste and refuse from public feasts. Another case study, occurring in 12 CE, involved a public outcry concerning the accumulation of organic waste from food stalls during the Ludi Romani festival. The forum, usually vibrant with activities, became a site of distress due to the overwhelming stench emanating from discarded food. In response, the local magistrates instituted an emergency waste collection that involved not only the usual slave labor but also volunteers from the citizenry. This initiative marks one of the earliest recorded instances of public involvement in waste management, showcasing a community response to sanitation issues. ### Comparative analysis with other regions. When comparing Roman waste disposal protocols to those of other contemporary civilizations, such as ancient Athens or the Indus Valley civilization, distinct differences emerge. In Athens, for example, waste disposal was often informal and relied heavily on the lack of organized municipal systems. Most refuse was simply thrown into the streets or the nearby agora, leading to significant health hazards. Athenian philosophers such as Aristotle criticized this lack of foresight, suggesting that a structured approach to waste management was a sign of a civilized society. In contrast, the Roman approach, as evidenced by figures such as Marcus Flavius and Tiberius Sempronius, was far more systematic, reflecting Rome's sophisticated urban planning. The Roman Forum's waste protocols included provisions for the regular disposal of waste, a feature notably absent in Athenian practices. The Indus Valley Civilization, on the other hand, showcased some of the earliest examples of urban sanitation. Archaeological findings indicate that cities such as Mohenjo-Daro had advanced drainage systems. However, these systems were not as extensive as those developed in Rome. The comparative analysis reveals that while both Roman and Indus Valley civilizations prioritized sanitation, the Romans excelled in integrating waste management into their urban infrastructure through legislative measures and public accountability. Archaeological findings and interpretations. Archaeological excavations in the Roman Forum have yielded a wealth of information regarding the waste disposal practices of ancient Romans. Notably, excavations at the site of the Basilica Aemilia revealed layers of refuse that included broken pottery, animal bones, and organic matter. These findings suggest that the Forum was not only a political hub but also a site of daily commerce and consumption, necessitating a robust waste management protocol. In 1978, archaeologist Dr. Aurelia Cascia uncovered a series of carbonized remains of food items, which indicated the types of refuse typically generated during public events. The analysis of these remains provided insight into the dietary habits of the Roman populace and underscored the importance of public feasts in generating organic waste. Dr. Cascia's interpretation emphasizes that the Romans were acutely aware of the implications of waste management on public health, as the accumulation of food waste could lead to unsanitary conditions that were detrimental to civic life. Furthermore, studies of the remnants of the Cloaca Maxima have revealed structural adaptations made during various periods in response to the increasing urban population and waste production. The addition of lateral branches to the sewer system during the Julio-Claudian era was a direct response to the growing need for efficient waste management, showcasing the Romans' proactive approach to urban sanitation. Primary source quotations, invented but plausible. To enhance the understanding of waste disposal protocols in the Roman Forum, it is essential to present some plausible primary source quotations that could have emerged from the period. 1. In the year of the consulship of Gaius Julius and Lucius Cornelius, decrees were issued for the regular collection of refuse, lest our beloved Forum fall into disrepute, and the air be tainted by the stench of neglect. Excerpt from the Annals of Publius Cornelius. 2. Let it be known that the refuse of the marketplace shall be gathered at dawn, for we are a people of order, and our Forum must not be sullied by the waste of our feasts. Inscription from the Edict of Marcus Flavius. 3. As the sun rises over the Capitoline Hill, it is the duty of the citizen to ensure that the remnants of yesterday's indulgences do not mar the splendor of our republic. Proclamation by Tiberius Sempronius. 4. The streets of Rome must be kept as clean as our hearts, for a citizen's duty extends beyond the amphitheater to the very ground upon which we tread. Letter from an unknown senator to the Forum's magistrates. 5. Let it be recorded that on the first day of the month of Quintilis, the refuse from the Ludi Romani was removed promptly, lest the gods take offense at our lack of piety towards cleanliness. Fragment from the Acta Ludi Romani. Conclusion. In summary, The seemingly dull history of waste disposal protocols and refuse collection timetables in the Roman Forum serves as a testament to the Romans' commitment to urban civilization. The roles of minor historical figures such as Marcus Flavius and Tiberius Sempronius, along with specific case studies, comparative analyses with other cultures, and archaeological findings, reveal a sophisticated understanding of waste management. Through a meticulously structured approach, the Romans not only maintained the aesthetic integrity of the Forum but also safeguarded public health, ensuring that their beloved city remained a beacon of civilization in the ancient world. This exhaustive exploration of waste disposal practices, while perhaps lacking the dramatic flair of more celebrated historical narratives, underscores the importance of even the most mundane aspects of daily life in shaping the legacy of Rome. The careful orchestration of refuse collection and the commitment to cleanliness reflect a broader ethos of order and responsibility, elements that are often overlooked in the grand tapestry of history. Thus, as we conclude this detailed examination, it is worth noting that the history of waste management in the Roman Forum is not just a story of discarded refuse, but rather a narrative woven into the very fabric of Roman identity itself, albeit a rather tedious and uneventful one. The history of waste disposal and refuse collection in the Roman Forum, while often overshadowed by the grandeur of Roman architecture and the tumult of political affairs, presents a fascinatingly mundane narrative that reflects the societal values and organizational capabilities of ancient Rome. To fully appreciate the intricacies of these protocols, we must delve into the minutiae of the figures involved, the specific case studies illustrating the evolution of waste management practices, and the archaeological findings that illuminate our understanding of refuse collection in this pivotal urban center. Minor historical figures and their roles. While emperors and generals dominated the historical landscape of ancient Rome, several lesser-known figures made significant contributions to the domain of waste management. One such figure was Gaius Oppius, a minor magistrate during the late Republic, who is often credited, albeit obscurely, with the first formalized collection of refuse protocols in the Forum around 69 BCE. Oppius, noted for his meticulous nature, established a rudimentary timetable for refuse collection, mandating that waste be removed from public spaces twice weekly. His edict read, "Let it be known that the refuse of the Forum, that most sacred of Roman spaces, shall not linger beyond the setting of the sun on the appointed days." The impact of this decree, while seemingly trivial, laid the groundwork for future regulations concerning public sanitation. Another minor figure of note is Tiberius Cato, a local merchant whose economic interests prompted him to advocate for improved waste disposal practices around 43 BCE. Cato petitioned for the establishment of designated refuse zones, emphasizing that the health of the citizens is paramount, and a clean forum is a prosperous forum. His efforts resulted in the allocation of specific areas for waste deposition, although enforcement was lax, often leading to non-compliance by shopkeepers eager to maximize their business space. Specific case studies with dates. Examining specific case studies reveals the evolution of waste disposal practices in the Roman Forum over time. In the year 27 BCE, following Augustus's reforms, there was a concerted effort to improve urban cleanliness, largely driven by the newly established position of the censor. The censors, originally tasked with maintaining moral standards, expanded their role to include public hygiene. Under censor Appius Claudius Pulcher, a series of decrees were issued that detailed the responsibilities of citizens in maintaining refuse collection schedules. For instance, on the Ides of March, 25 BCE, Pulcher convened a public assembly where he stated, "Let it be known that the waste of the forum shall be collected every third day, lest the stench of refuse offend the gods and the people alike." This public pronouncement formalized waste collection as a civic duty. The records indicate that citizens were fined for non-compliance, setting a precedent for the enforcement of public cleanliness. Another notable case study occurred in 12 BCE when a particularly heavy rain season caused the Tiber to flood, leading to a significant increase in refuse accumulation. This environmental disaster prompted a temporary suspension of usual refuse collection routes, leading to a public outcry. The historian Pliny the Elder, in his natural history writings, noted, "The inundation brought forth not just the waters of the river, but the refuse of the forum, creating a vile spectacle that shocked the sensibilities of even the most hardened citizen." Comparative analysis with other regions. When comparing the waste disposal practices of the Roman Forum to other contemporary urban centers, such as Athens and Alexandria, notable differences emerge. In Athens, the philosophical emphasis on the public good translated into a more community-oriented approach to refuse management. The Athenian Assembly, in 332 BCE, established a system whereby citizens were encouraged to engage in regular cleanup activities, a stark contrast to the more regulated and punitive measures seen in Rome. In Alexandria, the advanced engineering capabilities of the Egyptians allowed for the development of rudimentary sewage systems that significantly reduced the need for refuse collection. Archaeological findings suggest that Alexandria had a network of underground channels that facilitated waste flow away from populated areas, a practice not fully realized in Rome until centuries later. As articulated in a fictional letter from an Alexandrian citizen to a Roman friend, "We have the waters of the Nile to carry away our burdens, while you Romans are left to contend with the refuse of your own making." Archaeological findings and interpretations. Archaeological excavations within and around the Roman Forum have unearthed a wealth of information regarding waste disposal practices. Notable findings include the remnants of large clay containers, or dolia, used for the storage of organic refuse. These vessels, often found in the vicinity of known market areas, suggest a systematic approach to waste collection, with merchants presumably responsible for the maintenance of cleanliness in their respective zones. Studies of these dolia reveal that they were often placed at strategic locations, such as near the rostra and curia, to facilitate easy access for refuse collectors. The presence of these containers implies a level of organization in waste management that parallels contemporary practices, albeit rudimentary by modern standards. As one fictional archaeologist noted in their field report, the dolia stand as testament to the Romans' understanding of the necessity of waste management. Even in their most trivial practices, they sought order amidst chaos. In 45 CE, the discovery of a large pit containing assorted refuse, including pottery shards and organic material, provided insight into the daily life of Romans and their waste disposal habits. The stratigraphy of this pit indicated a timeline of refuse accumulation, reflecting changes in consumption patterns over time. Art historian and fictional archaeologist Claudia Verus remarked, "Through the layers of refuse, we peer into the souls of the people, their habits laid bare in the remnants of their meals and the detritus of their lives." ##### primary source quotations, invented but plausible. To further illuminate the perspectives of Roman citizens on waste disposal, we can turn to invented primary source quotations that reflect the attitudes of the time. A fictional Roman citizen, Lucius Antonius, might have commented in a letter to a friend, "The refuse of the forum grows like the weeds of a neglected garden. If we do not tend to it, our beloved city shall suffer the consequences." Additionally, a fictional philosopher, Gaius Aurelius, could have mused, "As the refuse piles high, so too does our negligence." The health of our forum reflects the health of our republic. Clean streets lead to virtuous citizens. These quotations, while not genuine, encapsulate the underlying ethos regarding waste management in ancient Rome. ###conclusion. In conclusion, the often overlooked history of waste disposal in the Roman Forum is rich with detail, illustrating the complexities of urban management in ancient societies. From the minor historical figures like Gaius Appius and Tiberius Cato to specific case studies that highlight the evolution of refuse collection practices, we uncover the layers of society's engagement with waste. Comparative analyses with other regions, archaeological findings, and the insertion of fictional primary sources help us to understand the significance of waste management as a reflection of broader civic responsibilities. As tedious as this topic may seem, the history of refuse collection in the Roman Forum serves as a reminder that even the most mundane aspects of life are deserving of attention, for they reveal the values and practices that shaped one of history's greatest civilizations. Ultimately, the refuse of the Forum, though it may be a dull subject, reminds us of the continuous struggle for cleanliness and order in the tapestry of human existence. And so, dear listeners, we come to the end of our gentle exploration into the oft-overlooked yet surprisingly intricate history of waste disposal protocols and refuse collection timetables in the Roman Forum. As we journeyed through the cobbled streets of ancient Rome, we uncovered the meticulous systems that lay beneath the surface of one of history's most vibrant centers of culture and commerce. We learned how the Romans, with their remarkable ingenuity, tackled the challenges of refuse management, ensuring that their beloved city remained clean and livable in a time when sanitation was a challenge. We meandered through tales of the various methods employed, from the utilization of designated dumping grounds to the organization of public latrines, marveling at how these practices shaped the very fabric of Roman society. We spoke of the dedicated workers who undertook the sometimes unpleasant task of collecting refuse, and we reflected on the significance of cleanliness in maintaining public health and social order. It was a narrative not just about waste, but about the values and priorities of a civilization that continues to inspire us today. As we wrap up this journey, I want to take a moment to thank you, dear listeners, for joining me in this exploration of a subject that, while seemingly mundane, reveals much about the human experience. Your curiosity and willingness to embrace the quieter, gentler aspects of history are truly commendable. Now, as you settle into your cozy space, I wish you a night filled with calm and restful slumber. Let the soothing rhythms of our narrative guide you into a peaceful sleep, where dreams can drift freely like leaves on a gentle stream. Remember, if the whispers of ancient Rome's refuse collection echo in your mind, you can always replay this journey. Let it wash over you once more, a soft lullaby of history that invites you to relax and unwind. So, as the stars twinkle softly in the night sky, and the world outside quiets down, I send you warm wishes for a restful night. May your dreams be sweet and your sleep be deep. Good night, dear listeners, and may you awaken refreshed and renewed, ready to embrace the wonders of a new day.